What's up, family, and thanks for joining another episode of Marriage Sessions brought to you by Black Gay Table Talk. I'm your host, Kenan, and we have
Dominic.
And for today's episode, actually, it's an announcement, I'd say. So, Black Gay Table Talk is partnering with the No Limits Project, courtesy of Ahmed and Lawrence, founders of this wonderful project and organization. And they've joined us today to kick off that partnership and share some information with us. Ahmed, Lawrence, how are you?
We're great. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, of course.
Yes, we're great. Everything's good. And it's a big announcement, so we're excited.
Yeah.
So I'll admit this is the first for the audience, and I'm sure you know, this is the first time we've welcomed guests on the Marriage Sessions podcast series. So I want to say we've had our cherry pop.
I was thinking the same thing. I swear I was. I was like, well, they're popping our cherry with the first guest.
Yeah.
So we welcome it, and we
Yes.
thank you for taking time, and we thank you for opening yourselves up to us and our viewers, and hopefully we can push forward and make some good things happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
You're more than welcome.
All right. So to kick it off, can you elaborate on the mission of the No Limits project and what kind of sparked the drive to get this going?
Sure. So, Lawrence and I have been together for just a little over a year, and when we first started dating, and the relationship was still fairly new, as Lawrence lives in France, in a little town outside of Paris called Savigny, and I'm all the way in New York. And so this relationship began as a long distance relationship. And we were always searching for a means by which to get closer together. How could we as a couple sustain the relationship and the love affair? And we toyed with the idea of having a business together. And I don't know who came up with the idea first, but the thought was born. Well, why don't we just package our relationship and share what we have established with others, so that they could appreciate how a long distance relationship actually works, and can actually be viable.
As you just said, I'm French. He's living in New York, and if someone just came to me and told me, "Oh, maybe you will be in a long distance relationship," I would be like, no way," because it wasn't something I believed in. And finally, I met Ahmed, and I changed my mind about it. And our project is to we are not therapists, but what we want to do is firstly to share our relationship, how we sustain in it, how finally we came closer and we're still becoming closer to in the relationship, and to, I don't know, maybe give some resources, give some tips to the other couples that are afraid in their long distance relationship, or maybe are struggling in maintaining the connection and make it deep, sorry. And yeah, this is the genesis of the project, and this is what we want to share.
I love that.
This is where we
that.
are.
I love that. So, of course, we will have some questions for you regarding the I guess, the details of having a long distance relationship.
Sure.
Mhm.
Um, but with the No Limits project, so what are some initiatives that you have that you're working on that we should be aware of?
So I guess the first thing that I'd say is that, the idea is the central idea is making sure that long distance couples have a have a safe space uh, to actually commune, uh, to congregate, and to share their thoughts, and to just collaborate. Uh, Talk about what sustains their relationships, and what doesn't, and together to just be a sounding board, if you will, for couples going through crisis because they are long distance. Um,
Mm,
so that's one thing. The other thing I would say is at the core of everything that we do, every initiative that we undertake, it is always with the idea of keeping couples together, of sustaining healthy relationships. So one of the things that we've been driving lately is the Pride celebration and Gay Pride, and
mhm,
specifically how we would, through the No Limits project, lend our voice to support other couples out there that are either in long distance relationships or relationships that again are in crisis and are looking for that additional support. And
mm,
the project, from its inception, uh, had many ideas that we initially thought about, but one of the things that we've honed in on is making sure that anyone that is connected to the No Limits project has a place to go to find resources within their immediate communities, whether that be in France, whether it be here in the US or in Canada. And we can provide links to couples that may be questioning the strength of their relationship,
mhm,
whether it's outreach in terms of medical care, whether it may be HIV related issues that couples may be dealing with. It's a resource. It's a place where you go to get information that you would otherwise not be able to readily put your hand on. So that's
mm.
it. I mean,
I love that.
that was the approach that we've wanted to take.
Yeah,
And we've got some other ideas that we intend to roll out here.
All
that's
right.
exciting.
Yeah, and speaking of ideas and initiatives, Kenan made me aware that there's one, I guess, that you all are currently working on too, that's kind of tied to voters registration.
Yeah,
I guess specifically speaking back or looking back into France, because there's a lot of changes that are happening,
yeah.
with gay rights currently, in France, and I know you all are trying to get that initiative started. Can you talk more about that initiative, Lawrence?
And there are changes happening here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, long story short, our president, Mr. Macron, I don't know if you know him, if you already saw him on TV, on news, he decided to dissolve the National Assembly. So finally, we have to vote for parties. But it's like I don't like to use this approach, but it's like France is burning right now
Mm.
because there is a lot coming up. You have the one of the parties from the right side, which is called Front National in French. Is the part This party is about racism, is against LGBTQ AI
Mm.
plus rights.
Hmm.
So it looks like if this party is coming to the power, is coming to have the power, France will step back about all those things we have already fight for, and
Right.
especially for
Right.
LGBT community. So that's why today we are trying to massively vote against it. And
Mhm.
this is I don't know if it's like there's something coming up, but when you look at Europe, many countries are now ruled by extremists. So people that are against LGBTQ rights,
Mhm.
against immigration, and they are like, it's like, I don't know, it's like history is coming back.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why we are trying to, to make this sensitive to people. They have the right to vote right now, and if they want to keep this right, they have to go and vote.
Go and vote.
You
This is
know,
true.
Dominic, there's an old saying that goes, for those of us that failed to learn from history, we are the very ones that repeat it. And
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that is the fear, and it's a global recognition, because so many
It really is.
countries today are leaning toward, or moving to more closer toward uh, authoritarianism, or autocratic rule.
Mhm.
And when that happens, no matter where it happens, um, it's not good, because what automatically happens as a result is that LGBT rights, the voices and the agency of anyone within the LGBT community gets eviscerated. We see, and we definitely see a moving backwards of all the progress that we've made over the years. um, and so, for us, the voter registration drive has absolutely nothing to do with one party or the other. The idea is not to suggest who you should vote for or why, but the idea is simply to push uh, 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 LGBT uh, 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 individuals to the polls. Get out there, understand what's at stake, understand why you should be voting, and then vote. Vote with your
Mm,
feet.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
and I can even go the same for here too in the U.S. because there are some things happening in some states too where there's some rights that may be possibly taken away if people don't vote. And I think well, most Americans, they tend to just kind of stick to that presidential vote, but really the most important piece is voting for the people that we put into the Senate and Congress, because those are the ones that do drive, those
This is
bills
true.
that really can make changes or take away things that we currently have,
Yes.
as the
mm.
LGBTQ plus community. So it's great that you all are pushing with this. I do hope that things actually fall through as you would like it to. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So I guess the
Yeah, and
message there is it starts at
no,
home, right?
mm,
Don't just
yeah,
focus on the presidential election.
Yes.
It starts
mm,
at home with your
Hmm.
local
Yeah.
officials
Yes.
and
Yeah.
those individuals really that are
Making
showing up for your community
right,
directly
right,
each day.
right.
It starts with them, then we work our way up. I'm sorry, you were going to
Yes.
say something, Lauren.
No, I was just going to say that when you think about it, we are part of the. I'm talking about mondialization, and our countries are part of the well developed ones. And when you think about it, I recently learned that a country like Namibia just decriminalized the homosexuality. So now, it's like this is crazy because when you think about it, it's like developed countries are going backwards when the
Hmm.
others are going,
Forward.
Yeah.
forward. So when it's like a crazy. So that's why our mission is to send to make people go outside and vote for their rights. And we
Yes.
are not trying to push them to a party or to another one. We are trying to push them to the first right to vote.
Yeah.
which is the most important one. Yep.
True.
Mm,
True.
absolutely.
What are some misconceptions, kind of going back a bit to um, what really drove you to start the No Limits Project, right? Having that long distance relationship you'd like to dispel right now.
I think one of the misconceptions is that the first one I would say is that they don't work, that they are an exercise in futility, a fool's errand, that at some point someone will give up, someone will become discontented, someone will disconnect and leave the other in the lurch. And that's the other thing I believe that you and I spoke about this earlier, Keenan, that you know the No Limits project uh, has been a means by which um, Lawrence and I have bridged the gap between us.
Mhm.
It's been a project that is near and dear to both our hearts, and in our spare time, we are working on service to others.
Mm,
It is the most rewarding thing when you can be a bridge for someone else other than yourself, keeping couples together because it's
mhm,
worked for us. If we're not talking about if when Lawrence and I get together, if we're not talking about the next time, the next trip that we've planned, we're talking about how we can share our experience with others to make it possible for them to have what we have discovered. So that's one
got
of the
it.
biggest misconceptions, I believe.
And see, I feel bad now because I'm like, oh, I wish he was long distance, but
Yeah, but I guess that's saying, that distance makes the heart grow fonder. And again, it seems as if you all are making those things, you're making it work, with the distance. It sounds like you are, and it's great. It's great to hear. It's great to hear, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's consistency, though. It's constantly. It's a never ending application of staying connected, of keeping that conversation going, of letting the person know that you are interested in every aspect of their lives, and making sure that they understand. One of the things that Lawrence and I often say, um, is we uh, uh, what's the expression? Uh, uh, what's the expression again? Speak first, or seek to understand.
Seek
See,
Seek
to
to
understand first.
seek to
Got it.
understand. So instead of blabbering off all the time, we're constantly seeking to understand each other.
Mm.
Mm. You
I
Yeah.
heard
love
that,
that.
honey?
No, I do. I do hear it. And you know what? And speaking to the seek to understand piece, that kind of ties back to really that communication,
Yeah.
and you all communicating in a way to where you're able to do that. I guess, can you maybe give us some of the effective strategies you all use, or what it is that you do to kind of keep that communication going between the two of you, so there's no, disconnect?
Lawrence, go ahead.
Well, our strategy, I won't say it's a strategy right now. I think now it's more like a routine, but a healthy one because, as you know, I live in France, so I am 6 hours ahead from you guys.
Okay.
So, when I wake up, sorry, my English is a little bad sometimes. When I wake up, first thing I do is to pray, of course, and then after that, uh, I take my phone and I leave an audio message or a text message or maybe only a video message
Hmm.
to Hamed just to tell him, oh, I miss you. I hope you had a great night. Blah blah blah. Uh, and then, I start my day, I go to the gym, I come back, sorry, I start to work, because, in my head, the time difference is already set. So I know that I sent him this message. For me, it was something like 6:30, so it's only midnight for him. I will hear from him so at about 11 because I know he wakes up early, so hear from him so at about 11:30 my time.
Hmm.
Then he would just text me back or answer my message. Then I know that at 1:30, no, not 1:30, 1:45 approximately, I will hear from him because he will call me. He will be on the train heading to the office. So it's not like a strategy. It's not. It's more like a good habit, a good routine we have now because we have been doing that for an hour, not an hour, a year and a half, more than a half, by the way. And yeah, it's some kind of good habits. Another one we had is we are connected to an app called Evergreen. So it's like a shared app, so a shared profile. So we are connected on the same profile. So and it helps us to know each other a little bit more every day because we have two questions in common. So I can put my answer and once uh, you know until it didn't put anything on the app, it cannot see him.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So he will have to answer to the question too, so he will see my answer. And this kind of routine, this kind of quiz of those little details helps us to stay connected. And I think that's how we finally build this strong and deep connection between
Yeah,
us.
Wow.
that's amazing.
I love and that. Have you say Evergreen? The app is called
Evergreen.
Evergreen.
Evergreen, the app Evergreen. And finally, when you think about it, to sustain a long distance relationship, but not only a long distance relationship, even a regular one, you only have to make some efforts, to keep the connections on.
That is
True.
true. I'm gonna have to look into
So
that app. You know, it doesn't hurt, right? It
it
doesn't
doesn't hurt.
hurt. Yeah.
No, it doesn't
So,
hurt.
so I have a question for you. So trust is an important part of the relationship, right? And so even more so than communication at times, right? What are some, and I don't want to say strategies, or what are some habits that you have to kind of help not only kind of build that trust, but to nurture it throughout the process of getting to know each other and trying to build that foundation that you have with each other?
So one of the one of the key things for us has been the communication aspect, making sure that we communicate consistently about the important things, the big things, and the little things. And when something is either bothering me or bothering Lawrence, uh, creating a space by which we feel free to talk about it um, immediately. Because if we don't, then it has a way of eroding that trust.
Hmm.
So one of the things that we, I guess, we battled with in the beginning was sharing information about our families, right? And Lawrence is a little bit more, I wouldn't say guarded, but he's a little bit more reticent when it comes to sharing everything about everything that's going on in his life. And and I'd like to believe that where we are now, we are certainly much more comfortable with sharing the good and the bad,
Hmm.
or what some people may feel maybe the difficult things to talk about, family issues, mistakes that we have perhaps made in our previous relationships, um, and speaking candidly about it, uh,
Hmm.
talking about where we need to grow, issues that we need to work on. And as far as, I guess, the infidelity is concerned, I think it's fair to say that we've reached a point in this relationship. I've told him, whether, if you feel like going outside of this relationship is something that you need to do, then talk to me about it. Um, because if we can't sustain our relationship in a long distance capacity, then who's to say that we're going to be able to sustain it when we're together?
Mm.
Um, so it's funny because for me, and I can only speak for myself, the long distance aspect of this relationship has actually worked in in our favor, because each and every time we get together, it is like the relationship is starting anew.
Oh,
Everything is fresh. We don't get to physically be in the same space together. We obviously don't get to physically interact with each other on a daily basis. So each and every opportunity we have to actually get together physically and spend time together, it's hot. It's explosive, and it's like we're meeting for the first time.
yes.
That that is
He's an
amazing. That is
explosive.
amazing.
But
And
that goes,
if I can add to what he just said, I would say that you know what, being in a long distance relationship, it's I feel like, and I already told him, but I feel like, I've never been this close to someone
Yeah,
wow.
than in this long distance relationship. Because when you think about it, if you want the relationship to sustain, to last, you have to put yourself in it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And
That's true.
finally, because we don't have access to each other like when we want, you have to finally open yourself. And this is what I'm trying to do. It's not it's not easy because I'm not a speaker. I'm not a great speaker, but I try to, and maybe it works because we are still together.
Right.
All right.
And I,
Uh,
I will say it does work. I watch some TV, and I was watching Sherry Shepherd, and I did not know that, um, oh my God, the lady from Abbott Elementary, the Jamaican, I can't think of her name right now. She and her husband don't live in the same state. Actually, I think she lives in California. He lives somewhere else. I think in the South or something. And she said that is what sustains their relationship.
yeah.
She said
Wow.
they don't live together. They live in different states. But she said when they get together, like you just said, it's hot. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So I guess it does work. That distance sometimes
mm-hmm.
definitely works in relationships. So
Mm-hmm.
it's great to I didn't even know that about her. So
And thinking of that, so sexual well-being and intimacy, right? Those are key parts of a relationship,
Sure.
in theory, or how we process it, right? They're very important.
Sure.
How do you maintain in those moments where you do desire intimacy or you do desire sex and um, that level of where y'all want to get it on? How do you? I was trying to word it good, but when y'all want it, what do you do? Like,
So
what are some things you do?
I don't know. For us, it's been a combination of many many things, right? So obviously there are moments of frustration.
Hmm. Hmm.
There are moments where I just you want to put hands on somebody and you can't. Um, I think for us, it's been a combination of speaking openly about it, planning. When we get together, this is what we're going to do sexually. Uh, um, and the other intimate thing that I think we do on a regular basis is pray. Um, I shared with you, Keenan, that we gave ourselves a challenge a few weeks ago to pray every day, no matter what was going on in our lives. And I remember stopping on the train. I was on the commuter train because I work in the city and I commute back and forth. during the day, and it was a crowded train, and I was standing up, wall to
Hmm.
wall people, and
Hmm.
Lawrence called and said, "You know what? It's time to pray." And I bowed my head, and together we prayed. And it's those moments where we're able to block out the world and
Hmm.
Yes.
share a moment together that is so intimate. It's one of the things I believe that not only sustains us, but that has kept us on equal footing, right? It
Yes.
has just it keeps us in lockstep with each other, and it just works. You know what? I'll add this: the long distance model may not work for everybody. It may not be everyone's cup of tea. Not
True.
everyone may be willing to invest the time, the effort, the emotion into making something like this work, because it does take a lot of effort, a lot of work. Um, but when you do, um, it can bear fruit. And this relationship between my love Lawrence and myself is constantly bearing fruit.
Mm.
I couldn't be happier. I thank God for him each and every day. Um, I don't think that we could have been even happier if we lived together. Uh, I just he is we are definitely soulmates.
Wow.
That is
Aww.
amazing.
Hmm. Wow.
I
Well,
almost
and
squeezed.
I will add to that. He was talking about the relationship model, the long distance relationship model. But uh, what we can add to that is when you are in a relationship, it's your own relationship. So by the communication you have with your partner, you can build it the way you want it to work. And this is exactly what we are trying to do.
Mm, I love that.
And sometimes because we are talking about frustration, yes, there is frustration, of course, but um, I guess we found another way to get really, really intimate because when you think about it, praying together is very intimate.
Yeah.
It's very intimate. So we to let's say to focus on something else, we pray together, and
Yeah.
of course, the sex part can be, like I won't say deleted, but we can forget it about it, forget it sometimes. Sometimes
Sometimes.
it's not always easy, but
Yeah.
But that's so powerful though.
It is. It
It's
is.
and one wouldn't think and I think initially when you think intimacy, you're like, "Oh, we need to be together. We
yeah,
need to, you know, be in the act of." But when Ahmed said that he was on the train and it's wall to wall people and he prayed when you call, there's nothing, in my opinion, more intimate than that. And it sounds crazy to think about, right? Because there are a ton of people around you, but in that moment, you blocked everything. That is amazing. Like, and I'm a crier too, y'all. So I'm holding back. Like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. I do have a question because earlier, you all spoke about, families and kind of sharing the good, the bad, the ugly. How do you all manage, I guess, being able to almost, because I know you all do have different circles, social circles, but how do you all manage being able to maybe make them aware of each other, if that makes sense? Like, for
Ooh,
example,
that's a
has a
good question.
mod, has a med went to any of Lawrence's cookouts with the family and things of that nature, or vice versa? Like, how do you all integrate being able to share, I guess, each other with your family? How do you all do that?
I never go anywhere with my friends here in New York
Hmm.
where I do not take the time, the opportunity to bring Lawrence in on the conversation. I
Okay.
will set aside a time. I'm going to say, okay, guys, I'm going to call Lawrence now so he can say hello to everybody. And I make sure that he's part of whatever it is that I'm experiencing.
I love
It's
that.
It's being intentional about it, Dominic. It's
Mm.
the intentionality of of working to make sure that you are including your partner in every aspect of your daily life, whether it's you're celebrating a birthday with friends or family, your even the workspace. When people come into my office and I'm having lunch with my, with Lawrence on the phone, I will have people will come around and they will say hi to him,
That's good. That's cool.
Aw.
right?
I think the
And
key thing you said in that was intentional.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
it
is.
is.
yeah, because it doesn't work otherwise. It just won't work,
Hmm.
And so at every turn, he is there. When I'm in the gym working out, I've got him on the phone and he's watching me work out, and we're talking. Um, if I'm cooking downstairs, he's there on the phone. If I'm eating, he's there on the phone watching me eat or I'm watching him eat. It's all of the small, the minute, the minutia of our daily lives is shared.
I love that. I love that.
Aw.
That's I like that.
I feel like I'm reading a love novel. Like,
Mhm.
Go to our blog. Our blog, we are blogging on Facebook. We're like I told Keenan earlier this morning. I said, you know what? We are working, Dominic, to get to where you guys are.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
we really are. Um, and after Keenan, after I hung up from you, after we hung up from you earlier today, Lawrence said, I don't know if I like sharing every aspect of our relationship. You know, and I don't think either one of us bargained for this, right? This was not part of the plan when we got together. This was certainly not intentional that we would
hmm
take our relationship and share it with the rest of the world. Facebook, Instagram,
hmm
and doing this podcast with you guys. But I think it serves a dual purpose. It lets people know that you can have once you have the right combination and you've met the right person, you can have you can share aspects of your life with others, and have them learn from your experience. You know,
hmm
and that's what we've set out to do.
And
Yeah.
that kind of goes back to what Lauren, thank you for that too, by the
Yes.
way. What Lauren said as far as sharing, like, I think for us, initially it was like, oh, I don't want, along with that window, if we open that window, people get to judge and they get to,
Mm, mhm.
so, but I think what was louder to me when we made the decision to do marriage sessions through the podcast is that yearning that I had when we were in that mode of not being able to communicate well. And I'm like, okay, I need examples. Like, I need, who can I turn to? Where can I go to find a couple that looks like us, another black gay couple or couple of color, um, to get insight? Because in essence, although we're in the same world, our worlds do look
Too different.
Different. Yeah.
vastly different. Yes. So I think as I understood that and I realized, damn, there's somebody else out there like me or like us looking and searching for help or searching for an example or how to handle this situation, I think I became more comfortable with it. And he's such an amazing person. He's like, well, babe, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you want to do, I'm there. So it worked out. But I get where you're coming from, Lawrence, or with that.
Yeah. We were talking about it just before the podcast today, and I was like, you know what? I don't really like to expose my, private life like that, but finally, I know I have to work on it because it's for a greater purpose. It's for the goal, for the mission, and if we want this to work, people people need to know where we are coming from.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
Well, I do have a question. We know that relationships are not always rainbow skittles and unicorns. So so with any relationship, there's going to be some form of conflict, right? And again, you
Sure.
all are physically apart. So I mean, has there been conflict, and how do you all manage the disagreements? If they do come about.
Well,
Well, okay, my turn. Um, when you think about it, at the beginning of our relationship, we had an issue. We had a big issue because, as you know, I'm not a big speaker. And when something was going on in my life, I didn't share it in the beginning.
Hmm.
And we had a big conflict about it. And it was just before uh, his trip to Paris to for our meeting, for our first physical meeting. And finally, when you think about it, because we don't have many ways to handle it, we had to communicate. I had to make some more efforts about it because when you were in my situation, because I've been single for a long time, you take some habits of, you are alone, you don't have to talk to anybody about what's happening in your life. You just have to handle it. If something's going on, you can handle it by yourself. You can even, speak to friends, but it's not the same thing. And now I have to make some efforts. I have to grow in the way of my I communicate, in my communication skills, because if I don't, there is a it will be a window for me to lose him, and I don't want that. So
Hmm.
the key is the communication, and as we said before, we have to seek for understanding first. So this is how we handle it, and we always try to give the other a safe space to speak, you know. So I don't know, it works.
I love
Communication
that.
is key. If you speak
Yeah.
to the other, if you try to make him understand what you're going through, um, he will be able to understand and to, maybe to help you to have a different view of what you are going through, or
Hmm.
help you to find a solution.
Right.
And having that desire to listen and
Yeah,
receive what you're saying is
yes,
critical too.
yeah,
yes.
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. We are trying to do active listening too.
Mm.
All right.
Important, because I can speak and he can say yeah, 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 and finally he didn't understand anything because he wasn't listening to what I was saying. And this is not what he does. He always
You know,
tried to be supportive and to understand.
Right.
Keenan, I will. The only thing that I will add is that when Lawrence and I speak, I always say to him, I have always said, and I will continue to say that I hear what he says, and I hear what he doesn't say.
Mm. I must- Damn it, that's it. I love that
Yeah,
because sometimes it's what's not being said
yeah,
That is the
that's
most
that
important.
missing link. That's that
yeah.
piece.
Mhm.
But I almost think it's a form of like emotional intelligence or just
Yes,
really being
the
engaged
EQ.
and knowing
Yeah,
who you're in the relationship with,
yeah.
because it's not even a matter that he may not want to communicate some days, it's that he may not know how.
Yes,
And through you giving that ear to what's not being said, you're able to shift the axis of what's going on.
Mhm.
yes,
Like,
Mhm.
yes,
I love
yes.
it. I love
And
it.
it's allowing for that. It allows for a permission structure, right? So you can say
Yes.
whatever it is that you're thinking or you're feeling, and know that it's going to be accepted, right? Know that you won't be judged by whatever it is that you're trying to express or the words that you're searching for, and listening to what
Mm-hmm.
he's saying verbally, but also listen to what he may be saying or not saying emotionally, right?
Mm. All right. Whew.
I just will say, and kind of going through this with you all and having these conversations, it's almost as if like what you all are doing should be like almost the foundation to like the start of any relationship. You know,
Yeah,
just like with especially,
it's
it's almost
foundational.
like we should. You know what? Let's do this first. Let's get to know each other. Let's do before we go into maybe that physical aspect. And again, you know, as men, we tend to be very visual and
So true,
physical.
Dominic.
So
So
it
true.
does take effort, like you said, effort and being proactive to make this work. And I feel that if there was a way for us to start this first, then maybe it's almost it'll be even stronger once you get together
True.
and maybe again make it happen. So
True.
yeah,
True.
We have been
It's so
forced to.
funny.
Yeah, we've not been given a choice. This has been
mm, that's
this
true.
was set for us, right?
Right,
Because we didn't have access, so we had to build on what we had, and
right.
this was the results. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Mm,
amazing. Oh, so that being said, right? So having a shared vision and shared goals can sometimes help strengthen the relationship too, right? So when you look at like as Lawrence shares his goals, or Ahmed as you share yours or your visions, what are some things that you make sure that you're conscious of as you're receiving that goal or that vision, so that you can help support and kind of help drive that sense of well-being for self? Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
So for me, on my end, it is making sure that I speak to and understand what his needs are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Understanding where he is and where he wants to go, where he sees himself going, professionally, emotionally, and spiritually. I have said to Lawrence that whenever I become an obstacle in you getting to where you need to be, then I am no longer being an effective part of your life. Um,
Mm.
so long as we are enhancing each other's lives, we're making a difference. And I'm not talking about in a monetary way, um,
Right.
but being a support system for the other. If it's something that he may be going through with his mom or his sister, if it's something that he's dealing with at work and he doesn't have the answers, um, I am there to support him as much as I can in seeing him through whatever it is, or helping him get to another space that it's comfortable for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's been part of our journey. I think of a really really big part of our journey. Um, Sharing the the ups and the downs to be to be to be reductive about it, I guess. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but making sure that whatever it is that he's dealing with, um, I am there to support him. So, like, I'll give you a
An
contemporaneous example
example?
of what I'm talking about. Yeah. Um, so he and I have been talking a lot about what happens once he moves to the United States. Is it marriage? Is it continuing this business? Is it his employment? His professional well being. And so we have been talking about building his resume. Making sure that everything that he's currently doing professionally has an appeal for an American audience,
Mm.
um,
Okay.
and making sure that when that transition happens, whenever that time comes, that it's as seamless as possible. And So that's been a part of our journey. Yeah.
So are there times where you have to call and say, well, babe, you remember you had to do this, or get up, you know you said you wanted to do that. So I mean, do you
Totally.
have really?
Just today, just today, we were on the phone speaking, right? After Lawrence sent you the agenda for today's meeting, um, I had to call him back right away. I said, did you forget to send the link? Did you forget? So it's we're always reminding each other about something that needs to be done, or that's it's just right. So we're planning a trip to Mexico in a few weeks. And I guess after we get off this call, this podcast, we'll circle back around to finalizing all of the details. But there is always something in the works for us. There is always one more thing to get done. Um, and we have tried to incorporate the No Limits project into everything, into every aspect of our lives. You
I
know,
love that. I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, so we are already planning, uh, for our trip to Mexico. We're already planning so how we can have maybe some interviews from the locals about what they are living as gay people, as gay individuals, in Mexico,
Hmm.
and how, the administration, how where they are with their rights, just thinking about the No Limits project already, and you know, trying to find some, how we said before, some resources to help people in their relationship and for the community too.
Hmm. I love
So
it.
we can say that we are close to say that this project is like a skeleton to our relationship,
Yeah.
Oh,
and we are building our relationship, around
Yeah,
it.
I love that. In your perspectives, what is your right to pride?
Pride for me, it's not something that you that you live or that you experience internally and you have others weakness. Pride for me is something that should be experienced. There is an It should be an action word when we're talking about uh, uh, the community. Um, so it's lived. It is not internalized. And if you are part of the LGBT plus Q plus community, when you speak about pride,
Mhm.
you should also be living it. You should be living it by example. You should be working in your community, making sure that the next person behind you has a prideful experience
mm,
through you. If
Mm.
you are not doing that, then you are not living the way that you ought to be living in terms of the example that you're setting. And so
Mm.
that to me embodies what we all should be doing, self included, in terms of, they say a rising tide lifts all boats. And so for me, um, living as a black man in America, um, as an attorney struggling uh, to to make a difference, in not only in my profession but in my community. Um, it's also important that I teach others what it means uh, to be black, to be gay, and to be proud of what I'm doing. And by that, I mean by helping others coming behind me.
Mm, I love that. Lawrence?
Um, for me, I agree with all he just said, and I'll make a parallel with the fact the black community, the fact of being black. For me, it's similar because when you think about it, usually people are talking about black people as a minority,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But we are not a minority. We are part of the humans being. So for me, pride is the celebration of differences. Pride is the celebration of who we are. And we should not be defined by our sexuality or our um, skin color. We are only, for me, pride is a celebration of the differences and individuals. So um, we should be always helping our communities. We should be always helping the other human beings. We should be always helping people around the world because it's important for I will make a little parallel with religion because I'm a believer, but it's important for our soul. For me, we are built for that. We are built to help the people around us. If someone needs something and you have this thing, you can, just share, or you can teach him how to have his own too. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, pride is the celebration of all that.
Mm. All right.
That will be my answer to your question.
I love it.
Yeah, wonderful.
All right, family. Well, Ahmed and Lawrence will be joining us again. So this is just the first episode. Again, they
With
just broke our
pleasure.
cherry. If you haven't already, stop by the NoLimitsProject.com. Take a look at what they're doing, the mission, and don't be afraid to share the word. We know the impacts when we show up for our community, and it doesn't matter where we are in the world. So show up and show out. Again, thank you
Yeah.
for joining.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
us.
having
Thank
us.
you for
Yes,
having us. Yes.
really appreciate you all
Take
joining.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. See you guys.
All right.